Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers are advised that the following program contains images of people who have died.
Students aren't always the quiet, industrious scholars we imagine them to be.
From the very first episode, BTN was covering big stories, like protests over the Vietnam War. The following year, Neil Armstrong became the first person to set foot on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
1972 brought supersonic speeds.
Over the past few days, many Australians have had their first chance to see the new Concorde supersonic airliner.
BTN reported on how Cyclone Tracy affected people in Darwin.
Chrissy's rather special. She's a Darwin girl. Almost a year ago, the city in which she lives was devastated by a cyclone.
What did you think was going to happen?
Thought we'd all get killed.
And all about how and why the Governor-General dismissed an entire government in 1975.
Because nothing will save the Governor-General.
It was a decade that also saw the release of Star Wars and the death of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. In the 80s, the Australian government returned Uluru to its traditional owners. And the world's biggest pop stars came together to fight famine through song. In the 90s, BTN explained big stories like the release of Nelson Mandela. He would become South Africa's first black president after spending 27 years in prison for fighting the country's racist apartheid system. We also reported on changes to Australia's gun laws after a tragic attack in the Tasmanian town of Port Arthur. In 1997, the Mars Pathfinder spacecraft landed on Mars. And Australians went to the polls to decide if the country should be completely independent of the Commonwealth.
Australia should become a republic because it's very important.
It will cost us too much to become a republic.
In the 2000s, the world changed in a big way after attacks on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. And later, countries including the US and Australia were involved in wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. There was other sad news, including an enormous earthquake in Indonesia that triggered a tsunami on Boxing Day 2004. More than 230,000 people were killed. In 2007, we told you about the global financial crisis and the global obsession with Harry Potter as the last book was released.
Harry Potter book. I'm just as Luna Lovegood.
In 2008, Prime Minister Kevin Rudd apologised to the stolen generations.
As Prime Minister of Australia, I am sorry.
And in 2009, Barack Obama became America's first black president. Back home, we had a change in leadership too, as Julia Gillard became Australia's first female Prime Minister. In 2016, 13-year-old Connor helped make history. His campaign for tactile banknotes to help blind or vision-impaired people led to a new $5 note.
Sometimes you just need to stand up and do what you gotta do.
And in 2017, we told you about disasters, some politician citizenship problems, and a big vote to change Australia's marriage laws. But of course, history is being made as we speak, and BTN is still a part of it.